We're live, aren't we? Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Monday. Welcome to the recording of the 90th edition of the On the Ball podcast. Hope you're all very well, looking after yourselves in these eventful times. So, what a lovely podcast we've got for you this week. Apologies, we weren't on last week, which I will get to speak about during the pod. Here's who we've got. There they are. There's Steve. There's Hodge. There's Zoe. All looking resplendent. So we're going to hear from them later. Well, very soon, in fact, once we start recording, which is grand. So we will try and get stuck into just the games we've all missed, but we won't try and dwell too long on the older ones, of course. As usual, we'll do a Wits end at the end. So puns are always welcome. Norwich superstitions, things you missed. Norwich regrets, I was going to dabble in. But I wonder if that's an extension of a similar theme as before. I don't know. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, right at the end for all ye committed folk. Also, yeah, get in your comments and questions. We don't really make a point of answering them during the podcast because we're recording a podcast and it's primarily for that. But we'll certainly chip in and throw in anywhere where needed and necessary. So hopefully that all works. So get those in and we'll just keep an eye on them and bring them in as we go along. And I'm well aware I've said this a lot, so maybe it'll have to be a New Year's resolution, but I do need to do a green room and bring those back so we can actually do some Q&A work live, which would of course be excellent. I'm just going to share the live video on Facebook because that is the diligent stuff I need to do. And as soon as I've done that and stopped talking to myself, looking down, we will be able to get on with the podcast, which is, of course, why everyone is here. But yeah, so get in any comments or questions you want. As I said, we'll have a look over them, most definitely. And I'm sure the guys will look over them too and throw in any that need a mention. And yeah, I'll try and bring in the Q&As. Maybe over Christmas. We won't be doing a podcast over Christmas. We take Christmas off. We are lazy. But, you know, no one necessarily needs a podcast during Christmas. We'll just come back once Christmas is done and dusted and see how rosy everything looks, which is grand. Hodge sent me a message, but I'll read that later, Hodge. Wonderful. Right. In that case, that's enough of me jabbering on and doing that. Should we crack on with the pod? Yes, I think we should crack on with the pod. Enjoy it. Have fun. And we will see you all on the other side. Let's bring on the show. Hello all and welcome to the 90th edition of On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that wishes it could read the game like Jakob Sorensen. I'm Michael Bailey, I cover the Canaries for The Athletic and I hope this finds you safe and well. On the way, so near and yet so far, here come the injuries and the Ginger Enigma. We will work through all that and more with our guests this fine evening. They are, as I wait for the music to run out, which it has just about done, a Norwich number one chief at NCFCnumbers, also known as our very own Steve Sanders.
Hi, Michael.
Our own Scottish maestro, commentator and journalist, although he's now better known for his Hodgy the Hack content. It is Stuart Hodge.
Well, I don't know about that, but hello, everyone.
Well, I do, and that's all that matters.
Thank you, mate. You're the man in the know.
And we also have author of the official history of Norwich City, or should I write maybe I should say co-author, but we'll say author for tonight. Screw it, author and purveyor of fine jumpers, Zoe Morgan. Good evening, Zoe.
Good evening, Michael, and thank you. I will take all the glory for this evening, I think, on the book.
Absolutely do it. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Lovely to see you all out there too. How are we doing, Steve? How are you? Lovely Christmas tree in the background.
Thank you very much. I've realised I need to work on my framing, really, because I've just sat in front of it, basically, or half of it. It's basically a power play. I've just bought a tree and I'll be like, look at it. I bought this. I can't. Look at it. There it is. There.
It's
I bought it.
Stevie.
You need to see it.
Do you know what's hilarious though? Everyone looks festive. Zoe's got a jumper. Steve's got his tree. Michael's got at least like an interesting background. I look like I'm in jail. I look like I'm in a jail cell.
Just to confirm, you're definitely not.
Are you? Yeah,
I can confirm I'm not.
Okay. But no, very well. And just wondering, you still like know how to operate all the gears and levers after there's 3 weeks off hosting, right? Because I think I did the one 2 weeks ago, and then we weren't on last week. So I feel like you might be out of practice.
Yeah, well, this. Well, that will make it all the more exciting, I suppose. It's chaos. Yeah. Not wishing to get into F1, but you know, it could be synonymous of that, which is all good. Well, you know, I mean, the Christmas tree doesn't look like it's coming out of the top of your head. So you've achieved that as much. So although Zoe's not entirely sure. Stu, how are you from your cell?
Not too bad. I've been treated really, really well, really respectfully by the constabulary, so I can't complain.
Oh, God. I mean, you could definitely sense a Hodge the Hack live stream from prison.
Well, aye. Or just like custody. It doesn't need to be actual prison. I'd be quite happy with just like a weekender, you know, like experience the vibe, but don't remain incarcerated for any length of time.
All you've done there is maybe think of custard. So well done. You've also reminded me of the fact that we spoke to Dean Smith in the press conference this morning, where he got asked if Norwich had a Christmas party yet. To which he said, with a glint in his eye and a smile on his face, well, you know, we had one virtually, but there was only 2 of us in the room, so that was all right. He then proceeded to be asked all of the details of what this Christmas party was like, because the other journalist didn't quite twig he was joking. So, and it literally took about 3 minutes for this whole thing to be. He was like, no, it didn't happen. It was a joke. But there we go. So fair play to Dean Smith going.
It's never a good joke if you have to explain it's a joke, though, is it? Or is it just a tough crowd? You got it.
I got it fine. I tweeted it live that it was a joke. So it was definitely not Dean Smith's sense of humor. I fully appreciated the lengths you went to be honest. I enjoyed it. Zoe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just about recovered from getting back at about midnight on Saturday night after being at Carrow Road in the evening.
Did you go to jail?
I live in Yorkshire. So I have a long way to go. Part of the A1 was shut. It was an interesting journey back. And I've got to do it all again tomorrow. So I can watch us play and win 7-0, I expect, tomorrow evening. Absolutely.
We all know it's worth it. So that's the good news, isn't it? Well, and I'm not making any jokes about Yorkshire and prisons, because I used to have a bad rep with people from Yorkshire.
Oh yeah, they didn't like it there, did they?
No.
Oh yeah, probably fully justified, I expect.
I think we've put that all to bed. It certainly didn't have any.
It's a very tolerant county, according to recent news. So.
Okay, well, let's move on quickly because we are live. Brilliant. Well, I'm glad everyone is well. Hope you're all well out there listening or watching. Just before we get stuck into the big stuff, may I actually apologize for the lack of a podcast last week. I was traveling back on the train from Tottenham when I was told by my mum that my granddad had died earlier that day. And we couldn't get a plan B in place for the podcast on the Monday night. But I did just want to say, for the record, my granddad, Brian, he was 91 years old and a Carrow Road season ticket holder for more than 70 years, which is incredible. I've now got a lovely photo of him at Wembley from the 2015 playoff final, which is nice. And he did also play quite a big part in me realizing as a teenager that I could actually go regularly to watch Norwich play live rather than supporting them in absence, like my dad, who preferred finding out the results once they'd happened than actually worrying about what had happened during the game. I don't think he could really deal with the stress. So it's probably thanks to my granddad that I'm sat here doing this, really. And I have also no doubt that he would have thought Cristiano Ronaldo was rubbish on Saturday night. On that note, I say let's crack on with this week's headline act. And I think that volume was much more agreeable because I did tweak it, but I do say that every week. Oh no, Zoe's put her hands through it.
Still recovering.
Okay, moving on. Next week it'll be much quieter. Maybe next year it'll be much quieter. So there have actually been 3 games that we that have taken place since we were last on, and I am keen to know what everyone feels that they've learned after the delightful trio that were the 1-1 draw against Newcastle's 10 men up at St James's Park. Followed by the 3-0 defeat at Spurs, of course, on the following Sunday. And then we had Saturday's 1-0 glorious defeat against Manchester United. No. But yeah, I mean, Steve, when we wrap up the 3 games, what are we the wiser about now, do you reckon?
Difficult one, because they were 3 quite different performances. I thought Newcastle was absolute torture for the most part, to be honest. I absolutely hated watching that. A game that I think we didn't expect to be on top of, and maybe we learned that actually we're quite happy not to dominate games in that way. We certainly didn't anticipate it was going to go that way. Spurs, I kind of think similarly to you, Michael, because I've seen you say this and I just steal all your ideas, really, that I don't think we were flattered by that score, or rather Spurs weren't flattered by that scoreline. They were well on top, and although we had a lot of the ball and a few chances, we were never in control of that. Contrast that to Saturday, which I think, to be honest, over 90 minutes might have been our best performance of the whole season. It was certainly up there. We really gave a team who will probably be pushing for the top 4, though were very, very ordinary on the day, a properly good game. And I think, well, you never deserve to win games, do you, unless you actually can score. But certainly deserve more than to lose that. So I think over the 3 games, to me, it feels like maybe under Dean Smith we're going to be a home team, as in, we'll be a force to be reckoned with at home. Obviously, we're only talking a small sample size, so maybe a bit difficult to judge on that. But we've certainly had our better performances at home. And one thing that struck me, and again, I think this is something to go back to stealing your ideas, is the way that we defend now as a team is just night and day from where we were before. And I think particularly that midfield 3, there were a few times against Manchester United where I saw them sprinting back to protect the box, and then kind of working, winning the ball back and working up the pitch from there. We just didn't see that under Farke. So I think there's going to be harder work, a harder working team, a more compact team. We just need the goals to start flowing, and then who knows, we might start being competitive. We might even drag ourselves out.
It is a fair while since I used the word jog, so that is good, because there was a lot of usage of the word jog in the first few weeks of the season, especially. It was really grabbing me quite a lot. I mean, it's interesting, Stu, isn't it? Dean Smith kind of said it himself today that scoring goals is the toughest part. Creating them is also quite hard, but they've been better at that. So they have kind of worked through to the point now where that looks like the hardest thing to do. Is that something we've learned over these 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're making enough chances, barring maybe the Newcastle game where I don't think we were that creative particularly, and I think it was bringing Giannoulis on that really was the key to making a difference in that game. Although Cholis did, I think, if he had more than 45 minutes, might have done something in that second half. I still think he can be really effective for us. Another thing that we've learnt is Shemi Plaheta could actually be a viable option in the Premier League. He was a player that I'd written off as a kind of Ivan Sproul, can run really fast and not do much else. Hold my hands up. I thought he was absolutely fantastic against Manchester United, on the ball and off the ball. I thought when we were defending, his pressing was really, really strong. And I thought he did that side of the game really well. There was an instance in the first half where he got the ball in that right-hand side, and I don't think the move came to anything, but he played a really intelligent pass. And it just looked like he had a bit of creativity about him, which was something that I never, ever saw from him under Daniel Farke at all, that I can remember. So, and to see him doing that, and to see him doing it against Manchester United as well, albeit they weren't great on the day, was really encouraging. But that, rather than focusing just on him specifically, I think that sort of gives you an idea of what Dean Smith is doing for a lot of these players. Because I think a lot of the players that might have been in the fringes, you might have written off, maybe hadn't looked like they'd got very much for Norwich City. I think a few of them might. Some already are, and I think a few more might begin to surprise us as the season goes on. But yeah, just need to score goals.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice for a few of them to step up and shine. I'm sure we're going to talk about some of the others as well. Zoe, what are your learnings?
Thinking about it, I think it's been all about sort of understanding different levels of confidence and changing levels of confidence as well, I think. So if you take us, the fans, and our confidence in the team, I feel like that's an evolving process. I feel like we're definitely all confident that they know what they're doing, that they're more organized, that they're more competitive in games, more competitive for longer periods of games. We might not be completely supremely confident that they're going to win games, particularly regularly, but we certainly feel like we're in games for longer. I think Dean Smith has now got an understanding and a confidence in probably a bigger range of players within the squad than Farke had, in his greater number of games at the start of the season, whether it's forced changes, like just him tinkering around with the side. It seems like we've got a deeper squad than actually some of us maybe thought we had, that, we can be not worried when certain players are playing because actually they're, very capable of contributing. And then I suppose the last one is the players' confidence. And that's something I think there's two elements of it, right? I think one of them is their confidence in that they can compete. And I think that is definitely light years away from where it was a few weeks ago. The confidence they had throughout the game on Saturday, I think, they really felt like they were in it. They felt like they were attacking it. They felt like they were on the front foot. So, that's really, really pleasing to see that they don't look all at sea. They don't look lost anymore. But I suppose that one last sort of missing element, I suppose, is the confidence in front of goal. And that's what we're missing. And, if you can sort that bit out, perhaps the confidence in us winning more games will come, because I think that's, the one thing that we're lacking at the moment, maybe.
It's a really interesting point, that just the simple deployment of Josh Sargent on the left rather than on the right. And there's quite specific attention to why Dean Smith did that. Is sort of a tactical nuance that I think has now been added to what Norwich do on a game by game basis, which is a notable improvement, I would say. I mean, we've also learned that injuries are not an old thing. They have returned. There's been quite a few players in and out, which I guess a lot of you will already know about them. We did get a few updates today, so apologies if I miss anyone out. Ben Gibson was due to train today, so hopefully he will be back. He missed the United game. Grant Hanley has damaged ligaments, but not broken anything. Dean Smith seemed to say that he definitely hadn't dislocated his shoulder. Because he got asked that directly and said no.
So
was that a brace?
You have ligaments in your shoulder, right? Is that a thing? Sorry, genuine question.
He did. So in fairness, Dean Smith didn't say that he damaged ligaments. There was a Norwich City tweet that said he had damaged shoulder ligaments. Are there really shoulder ligaments? I don't know, because it's a ball and socket joint, isn't it? So with that.
Can someone with a physiological background help us out?
There's the rotator cuff. I feel like there are.
There must be stuff over the top of your joint.
Yeah,
surely there must be stuff there.
If anyone watching this live knows, please let us know.
Isn't it all the stuff that Tetty was missing in his knees that meant that he just had the socket, the ball and socket?
Did he have a rotator cuff in his knee?
Maybe that was the problem. Yeah, maybe that was the problem.
Yes. So, well, he hasn't broken his shoulder anyway, which would be particularly nasty. But he is going to be out for at least 10 days, and it may be longer. He's got another scan. Christos Jolis has, I believe, tested positive for COVID. I think that has basically been confirmed, because it's not something I would confirm. I don't do that, private medical records and all that. But he will be self-isolating and testing. So I guess he'll be back in a week or so, maybe. And primarily hope he's all okay, obviously. Milot Rashica is going to be back running very soon. I think he might make the Arsenal game, which would be really good news. That'd be a nice Christmas present, wouldn't it? Be like a new player. Wrap him up in a present and unwrap him. Don't let him just run out. Just wheel him out in a cardboard box. Someone release the bow and out he comes. Anyway, Matthias Norman, he isn't back training yet, so he won't be around. Andrew Mbemedeli has not a stress fracture in his back, but a precursor to that, I think. So they're going to have to rest his back for a few weeks. Sam Byram was on the bench for the United game. That's amazing news for Sam. Far too early, because Dean Smith said it was too early, about 48 hours earlier of the game.
That's when Hanley was down, we were sort of speculating. We were thinking, maybe Byram will have to come on at centre back. No, there's absolutely no way that can happen.
Well, Sam, yeah, that would have been something, wouldn't it? And Christoph Zimmermann isn't back running it either, so he's still a fair way off. But of course, Ben Gibson being back and Ozan Kabak looking half decent on Saturday, along with Jakob Sorensen at centre back, at least offered a bit of positivity. So that is all the injury news. And what I will just say is Paul Frake, I did think that said Farker for a moment, has been in touch. There are 4 main ligaments in the shoulder.
Thank
Paul.
you, Paul. Even good gives a number.
And Toby Mills, yes, you do have ligaments in your shoulder. So
thanks, more aggressive, that answer.
Wendy, hi guys, I tore the ligaments around the rotator cuff. It's painful. It took 4 months to heal. Well, Wendy, I hope you're okay now. And B, I hope it doesn't take Grant Hanley that long to get back from his shoulder injury.
It's Grant Hanley. It'll take him about 4 days.
Are you saying that Grant Hanley's tougher than Wendy?
Sorry, Wendy, but Grant's a warrior.
I did like the way he tried to carry on with just one arm just hanging limply by its side, as if that would be absolutely fine to just do for the next however long.
Now I'm thinking about it. I think about 5 minutes before he did it, I said, I've just noticed Grant Hanley's got his fingers taped. But, he's the least likely footballer to stop playing because his fingers hurt. And so then Cristiano Ronaldo threw him to the floor and he broke his shoulder. So, funny how the football gods work sometimes. So, yeah, I mean, obviously some good and some bad news in all of that lot. It does leave us looking at the Premier League table, where things are now. It's a curious old situation. I keep thinking Brentford are going to get sucked into it. And then I keep looking at the table and thinking, I don't think they are going to be sucked into it. You have Watford who are there. They've conceded 1 fewer goal than Norwich. They've lost 1 more game, yet somehow they're on 13 points with 4 victories and they scored 21 goals, where Norwich have scored 8. So, and they're 17th. And Newcastle got battered at the weekend. So, I mean, when we look at it, do you reckon, Hodge, you can find 3 teams worse than Norwich at the moment?
I've always been of the mind that both Watford and Brentford were, but I watched Watford play Brentford and I saw Watford are going to change their manager again and they're maybe going to get it right. And I don't think Ranieri will be there to the end of the season. I will eat someone else's hat. Oh no, I've got one up there. I'll eat my hat that I've just bought, my Orlando Magic hat, if Claudio Ranieri is at Watford by the end of the season, because I don't think he will be. Brentford.
We can broadcast that. That's fine. We can broadcast that. So
live from jail. Live from cell.
I think Brentford just seem to keep getting results, as in when I think they're about to slide right back into it. They just seem to have that knack. And I mean, obviously, I want Norwich City to stay up more than Brentford, but if there was another team I would love to stay in the division, it would be Brentford. So it's quite nice to see how they're approaching it this season and on the fact that they're managing to get those results. I'm not going to fixate on the other 3 teams worse than us, because I think that kind of mindset is like, right, let's battle to be the best of the rest. Whereas I think Norwich City need to have a different kind of mentality about it. And to be honest, as a playing squad, I think that they do. I think they're going in and they're looking at it on a game-to-game basis. And I think we've punched pretty much at the weight that we're at since Dean Smith has come in. I think there's a few games where we could have got more out of it, but the key has been that cutting edge in the box, and we've just not had that. Sadly, I think that will probably be what relegates us by the end of the season. But the other thing is, I think there's enough players, if you start getting goals outside of Teemu Pukki, right? Not even necessarily another striker, but you start getting goals from the wings and midfield. I think we've only got 1 goal from the sort of midfield area of the team so far this season. If you start getting goals from those areas and you still get the odd centre-half's header, which we've had a couple of already, then maybe it can be enough. Because on the defensive side of the ball, as Steve pointed out, we've improved immeasurably. And that's really frustrating, actually, because that's the bit that Daniel Farke could actually maybe have addressed, or like his coach, like you feel that that's a side of the game that it's nothing to do with ability, it's to do with application a lot of the time. obviously lapses in concentration and stuff like that happens, but in terms of the difference between sprinting to get back in your shape and jogging to get back in your shape, that was something that frustrated me from the start of the season. I kept seeing it and I kept pointing it out, and I was like, we're in this game, apply yourself, you know? So I think as a collective, we're looking at things a bit more positively now. And I think at least the key thing is I'm watching Norwich City and they're in games. I was watching Norwich City at the start of the season and they were rolling over limply, meekly. And I'm just trying to enjoy the fact that we're fighting in games. And I know that sounds really sort of loser mentality, negative, whatever. I don't care. I'm just glad that we're competing.
Yeah, I'm completely with you, Stu. I mean, and I am loser mentality negative anyway, so I'm quite happy to.
I've played five-a-side with you, mate. I know that.
So, but yeah, I mean, like it was frustrating on Saturday to think that we could have got something and we didn't. But actually, it just feels like progress. I did come on here a few weeks ago, and I'm sure, and I would at some point I would have said, I just want to see us compete. And actually, we've only got 5 points from 5 games under Smith, which feels like, well, it's a point a game. And, you know, when you're starting from 5 from 11, I think that'll put us on 32 at the end. That will not be enough. So we do need to improve the points tally, but it feels like we've come on leaps and bounds. And I think, just to go back to the point Stu made about the midfielders, he's chopped and changed a lot, hasn't he? And I was thinking, just before I came on, I think he's used 6 different players, start from the start in those 2 roles either side of Pukki. So Sargent's had a few, Rashica's had a few, Dow started, Cantwell started, Pohetas started, and Jolis has all started. And they've all done okay, but none of them have scored. And that's a huge, you know, that has absolutely got to change because Pukki's doing his bit. And I suppose you could add Adam Eder to that as well because he got a start against Spurs. So it goes back to the point that Zoe is making that we've seen actually quite a lot of the players and it feels like they've done okay. They just haven't taken the opportunity to add to the goals tally. And you can forget about Brentford, by the way. 10 points ahead of us. They only need about 4 more wins. So I think they are staying up.
Well, 5.
Well,
five
four wins and a few draws would do it. Norwich need if Norwich don't get, and I agree with Stu's point. I keep thinking of the teams around us as well, like who are we going to finish above? But ultimately, I feel it's the same time every time we go up. We need to get to 35, 36 points minimum. And it kind of doesn't really matter what everyone else does. If we don't get to that total, then we have no chance anyway, really.
Well, yeah, which does, you know, I've been saying, you know, it needs to be 9 or 10 wins is probably what you really need. I remember Steve Bruce saying that once when he was Hull manager right at the start of the season. I think they got absolutely smashed by Chelsea away from home. And the first thing he said before the game is, look, all we need to do is win 10 games.
Is that 10 from the start of the season or from now?
Yeah. So that is 10 from the start of the season. But you know, it's 8 from now, isn't it? And Norwich have basically played half the season and you don't really want to be getting into the, you know, trying to finish in the top half. You know, rate of notching wins over the rest of the season. So we will see. But it did remind me actually what you were saying there, Stu, that, you know, Dean Smith himself said it's almost not what we do. It's just trying to get involved in the pack above the bottom 3, really. It's trying to, you know, just sort of bring teams into your orbit, which I guess is the same thing as just trying to look after yourselves and pick up points, isn't it? But you're just trying to do that and bring more in. And, you know, there's a fair way to go. So plenty of teams can screw up a bit. Let's maybe leave it like that, shall we?
Do you think, like, if you mentioned a few of the players there, lads, like, so Jolis, Rashica, like one of these guys, if they get 1 goal, right, or a couple of them get 1 goal, I think that could have maybe not a transformative effect in terms of where we will finish, like outside the relegation zone, but I think that could have a total springboard effect to the team, and that they'll then have confidence going forward in front of goal, or at least a bit more of it, rather than hoping for a goal.
Sargent,
I wasn't going to go that far, mate.
He is going to springboard us.
I do sort of. Because I know as soon as someone does something, it'll be, that will kickstart this. But I mean, you know, it's going to take a bit of a run of things. I mean, we talk about those players who played, Steve, and haven't scored. I mean, they also haven't created a goal either. No. So it's sort of all of it, really, isn't it? But you know, small steps. It's just maybe the last big step.
If a few of them score, I think it can give us a bit more positivity. Like, and at least then it's not just, is Pukki going to score or is he going to miss? Because we all know Teemu Pukki's game can sometimes be dictated what he does with his first chance.
Well, look, there's no better time than Tuesday night, but we'll come on to that. For now, I think it's time for a bit of pick that one out. And there it is. Now, this is the part where the podders each get a window to bring up an issue they're struggling to let go. If they lose themselves for more than 30 seconds, the buzzer will sound. Oh, I've got to get better at this, haven't I? The buzzer will sound. There it is. So that's exciting. And then
Has
once the
anybody
buzzer
ever
sounds, they can
stopped
let go.
before the buzzer?
I did last time.
Yes. No, in fact, it's becoming a bit of a fashionable trend, to be honest, and I don't like it.
Michael finds it unforgivable if you stop before the buzzer.
Yes. Don't. I don't get to use the buzzer. It's just,
I like the fact you've got an actual buzzer. I've never seen it. Hold it up again. Hey!
Just an app.
It looked like you pressed it with two hands just before like that.
Yeah.
Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, that didn't work. Right. Quickly, that's enough time wasting for me. Right. Who would like to go first? Oh, Zoe, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first.
Go first.
Brilliant. I'll give it a go. I'll try and speak for enough time to let you press the buzzer.
Go for it.
So I want to talk about top knots for a bit. I'm just wondering if we're all comfortable with being a team with two top knots in it, which we were on Saturday night. I think it's possibly the first double top knot we've had in a Norwich City team. It's just sort of come out of nowhere and nobody really warned us. I think we've been quite aware of Pohetta's top knot for a while. Dimmy's out of the side for a few weeks and suddenly he's grown enough hair to suddenly tie it in a knot on top of his head. Who's next? Is it going to be Brandon Williams? Oh,
well done. Brandon Williams Todd Cantwell,
Hodge,
potentially.
yeah.
Todd will. I mean, Brandon doesn't strike me as the sort of player who's going to end up with a top knot.
He's not a top knot player.
No.
Not at all. Can I say, by the way, that is the kind of football punditry that my dad has dreamed of hearing on a mainstream channel at some point. I'm going to make him watch this. Brilliant.
Is this mainstream? Is this prime time?
It is now.
How dare you?
I mean,
I was going to say, I have a theory about Leeds United, who all of them seem to have top knots last season, and now, basically, I don't know, none of them do that I can think of. I think the power of the top knot is what propelled them to whether they finished 8th or 9th last year, and now that they've lost it, they've lost all the top knots and they've lost all the ability.
I'm going to say, so what we're saying is if we can increase the XTN or expected top knot in... Oh, no.
TK.
XTK, which sounds better. If we can increase our XTK, then we are well on the way to basically staying up.
Yeah, that could also be expected. Tim Krul.
Top knot equals top notch.
Top notch.
Yeah. Who do you think would look most odd with a top knot?
Well, Pukki would look pretty.
I was going to go Ben Gibson.
Oh yeah,
he's a very, very handsome, clean-cut young man. That one. I mean, Teemu could put it in his beard. A beardy top.
That's a bottom knot then.
Bottom.
Actually,
Yeah,
bottom completely different.
We're going
I
down.
think Matthias Norman could make it work, but I'm struggling to picture it.
Well, yes. I mean, we'd need to dye his hair first, probably. Again, re-dye his hair. Brilliant work. So that is exactly what Pick That One Out is about. If I was scoring this, you'd already have won.
Marvellous.
Stu, no,
what a great way to intro me, eh?
Yeah.
Right,
it was a comment on Zoe rather than on you, Stu. But prove me wrong. Go for it.
There's no ways in that department. Right. So Ozan Kabak does some things where he looks like Virgil van Dijk and does some things where he looks like Dick van Dijk. He is a complete enigma of a football player. Honestly, he'll do some things at the back, and I know people get frustrated when I'm trying to play out to the back and all of that, but that's his game. That's what he does. And if he gets really, really good at it, it could add a whole new axis to Norwich City's play. Then again, he does some things that look crazily cumbersome, and like that challenge he dived into in the box, I was like that. But then after it, I was like, oh my goodness, he's just done a real sliding tackle in the box in a Premier League game and not giving away a penalty. I've got all the time in the world for that. So Ozan Kabak could be brilliant, could be terrible.
I mean, he did seem more restrained. You know, I don't think Dean Smith's going to let him sort of wander out repeatedly. Or was it Kabak Kabakenbauer?
Yeah, I think that you went with that.
Yeah. Good work, Stu. You know what? On a normal week, you'd have won. But
thank you.
Zoe won.
Sorry.
But then Steve's got a last go to.
I don't think I'm going to win.
He can. That's the. Oh wow, there is.
Well,
that
it's just a
negative
lot
mentality.
more. It's more mainstream, but you know, we'll see.
Hey, if we might be down to a populist vote, get your comments in. When you're ready, Steve.
I'm ready. I don't want to sound too grumpy old man here, but that photo, I think we know the one that I mean. The one of Ronaldo celebrating in front of our fans with the phones out and the cameras out. Oh, it just makes me sad. I feel like, I mean, I'm not that kid flicking the V's, but I'm with him I'm with him in spirit, you know. And he was what you kind of want Norwich fans to be doing. I just think, don't turn up and film the opposition players celebrating. I know people can do what they want, but it's not really what you're there for. Get behind the home team, and that's it.
That is a good one. To be fair, that is a good one, Steve.
Swinging your scarf like that, trying to put them off. Like, honestly, that was terrible. That was an indictment in the modern football fan.
The only thing I'll say is that I did, and I mentioned this in my hot takes after the game. Available on TikTok, probably. I think that's where I upload it to. So I mentioned that, but then I did see someone afterwards say, you know, they may have been, or they were, I think they said it definitively as if they knew, filming, you know, to see Tim Krul save Cristiano Ronaldo's penalty, and then obviously he scored, and then he ends up running towards them and he's stuck in front of them. So, yeah, but I mean, people do, we all see videos of the game in progress, don't we? So people do that, especially a penalty. Just
don't fit. What are you doing? Just live in the moment and enjoy, and celebrate proper. I don't see how that's going to be better watching it back, you know, the next day than it would be just in the stadium celebrating as if he'd saved it in real time. I don't know.
Yeah, but Steve, where have you been the last 20 years?
I know, technology's passed me by.
It's no past Michael by. He does TikTok.
Yeah. I'm all over TikTok.
Show me your ways, Michael.
Yeah, quite. I mean, you know, I to be honest, I'm not that offended really by people holding up a camera compared to, say, actually celebrating. So, you know, at least because I remember times where United would rock up at Carrow Road and they'd score. And I can tell you half the home crowd would be standing up going, yeah, because they'd all infiltrated it. So at least it wasn't that. Probably ish. I don't know.
I do think we do have a bit of a bit of an issue sometimes when the big clubs come to town, and you know, sometimes you get into the ground and during the warm-ups and people are sort of gathered around the front, you know, as close to the pitch as they can get to watch, say, Chelsea warming up, and I'm not entirely sure it gives the best. Our poor players with nobody watching them warm up. It's like you just want to say, look, come on, we've come to watch Norwich, and I don't care who else is playing. Like, I'd come to watch them, whoever was in the opposition. And I think we do need to be a little bit careful that we don't sort of emphasize anybody's perception of Tim Pottery around us. Sometimes I think we need to be careful.
Some of our lads have grown top knots just to make themselves more noticeable. Show them
exactly.
A bit more
the thing is, the top knot will register more with the younger football fan as well. So this expected top knot ratio is something that I think the club's data analysis team will really need to get on.
XTK. I mean, the players are just as bad. I haven't looked through social media, but I wonder how many of the players put up pictures where they were, you know,
next to Ronaldo.
Yeah. Oh, look, here's me, and here's Ronaldo, you know, trying to press me.
Billy Gilmore did, there was one where he was flinching away from the ball and Ronaldo was doing some kind of overhead kick. And I was like, that's not the best photo you could have picked, mate.
Yeah, but it's Ronaldo. Ronaldo.
The one Todd picked, I think very much was very generous in terms of the reflection of Todd's contribution to the game, because he looked sort of majestic, balletic, in full control of what he was doing. I don't know which moment it was taken at, but I don't remember it.
Was it the one where he fell over on the edge of the box?
Possibly.
I thought the sub. That's one thing I will say, not to be all negative, and we're having really good fun. But I'm going to come in here like the Grinch. The subs were pretty rubbish. When they came on, I understand Flaheta probably went off. Sepp Jakob, sorry. Because he was on so early, he's obviously exempt from that. But the other two that came on, I just thought did nothing. and didn't really contribute or enhance the team at all. I think Placheta went off because he was just a bit leggy. Obviously, hadn't had much game time, so I think that was a sub that needed to be made. But I just wasn't impressed with their contribution. Sorensen, though, what a guy, man! Imagine what he's going to be like when he plays in his real position.
Well, Lucas, Lucas Rupp didn't need to come off, I didn't think, but unless there was a reason for that, I don't know. And also, it's a game on Tuesday, so we're sort of umming and ahhing a little bit about that. I'm just going to now casually bring back things we are not going to talk about, because there's a list of things I had here which I didn't know if we were going to bring up. Chelsea Loan Army's tweet saying Billy Gilmour ran the midfield against Manchester United. I mean, I don't know if anyone from Chelsea actually watched the game on Saturday, but but don't add to the weight on Billy. Let him just do his thing and I thought
it was one of his best games, if not his best game for Norwich.
He did well.
But
did you watch the first half?
I thought, well, more so in the second. He was good in the
he was good in the second half. Definitely good in the second half.
He wasn't terrible in the first either.
Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was good. He didn't run the midfield, but I thought he was good.
Okay, no, I stand. I'm willing to be corrected. That's absolutely fine. But we're not going to talk about Billy Gilmour lots tonight. The Norwich fans in the Barclay decided that it'd be a clever idea to mock United supporters with the Munich air crash. I mean, you don't do that. I think it was only two of them, but absolutely ridiculously, and I'm sure the club would deal with that.
Can I just say, I would ban those fans.
Yeah, kick them out.
Out of order.
Well, I'm sure the club will try and identify them and make that happen. We touched on Placheta, which is fine. We've touched on Josh Sargent on the left. There's a piece on The Athletic on how Norwich went about things against United and how their pressing was good. And if they're going to make life difficult for people, that's what they need to do. So check that out on The Athletic. We're not going to talk about COVID, but I think we're all a little bit wary about where COVID is now. There's a lot of cases in the Premier League. People seem to be... I'm getting it from people as well saying, "Oh, well, is the game going to get called off?"
You're getting COVID.
No, sorry, no, good point. Hopefully not. But there are people who are generally worried about games being called off at the moment. Certainly Norwich's situation, Christos Jolis is the only case they're having to deal with. But other clubs have got it. Well, actually, the two teams that Norwich have played actually have had it quite badly. So we had Tottenham, who basically closed down the training ground, and now United have done that tonight as well. And I think they are trying to get the Brentford game called off. So Norwich,
by the way, I know you don't want to talk about it, but there's a chain there.
Well, yes, yes, indeed.
We patient zero.
Norwich are the common denominators. They're also probably the most vaccinated club in the Premier League. So, but yeah.
Plus, they all had it at the same time in August, didn't they? So we would be pretty unlucky to have a massive outbreak again so soon.
It was like injuries, isn't it? Get them all out of the way early on, and then you'll come back fitter and less broken afterwards. Yeah,
herd immunity, Michael.
Quite. Let's stop it. And then Jakob Sorensen was the only other thing that we haven't really touched on. Dimitris Giannoulis was very good, I thought, and there's a good left back battle developing there.
Quality,
yeah. But I mean, you touched on it there, Stu. I mean, for me, Jakob is, I think, at this level, probably a better candidate for centre back than holding midfielder, because I think his lack of pace is what. But he reads the game amazingly. I think, to be honest, the way he stepped in at left back last season was heroic and made him very much I think we did awards actually. I think he was my unsung hero for the season, and I don't think you could have made the choice at anyone else given the way he did it. And then he stepped in. First game, he's up against Rashford and Ronaldo in the Premier League. You know what I mean? That's not an easy assignment, out of position, doing that. But yeah, I actually think it could be a better position for him in the Premier League. I think the club just don't think he's got the mobility in the legs to play in that midfield role. And they definitely I think Norman will be the first choice for the holding midfield. Then when he's not available, it seems that Billy Gilmour's going to get the gig. And Lucas Rupp would probably be ahead of Sorensen in the pecking order as well to play there. So, and they have all got the legs to get around the pitch really quickly. You see, and I thought when Jakob has played there, even in Championship games, just that mobility has made me think I'm not sure. And I thought even when he came on at Spurs, it was a bit like the people are running around you quite a bit here. Whereas when he's played at centre back in a 3, I think he's looked much more comfortable. So I don't know what you think, Steve, Zoe.
Sorry?
I was just thinking there's a man that's probably only ever had one haircut in his life. not at risk from top knot.
Low XTK, low XTK.
Very low, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it was just a joy to see him doing so well when he came on. I think, it barely registered. And one thing that I would be on my list of things we don't really want to talk about is perhaps some of the media coverage of us, and maybe that Newcastle game with how Shearer sort of ignored us for the entire 90 minutes. But one thing that was really interesting to me, and frustrating if you take it that way, but on the match of the day highlights of the game, was that they didn't mention that our captain, our centre-back, had gone off with an injury, and we had brought on someone who is not a centre-back to play in his place. And that's probably testament, if you look at it positively, it's testament to the fact that Sorensen did so well, was so untroubled, settled in so seamlessly, that they didn't feel the need to mention it, because there was nothing that was coming up that was an error that he'd made, that was a chance created because he'd been out of position. And maybe sometimes when we're getting frustrated about these things, we think about a slightly different context maybe, and maybe think about that wasn't mentioned because the replacement did so well, and he had no right to do so well, and he did. And I think at any point has he ever let the club down when he's had the opportunity, and he has not. And I think it's just a really nice, he might not get loads of opportunities over the course of the season, but we know that when he plays, he will not do, and he will not let us down. So I think one to celebrate there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be a player that, regardless of how long or how many appearances he has in his Norwich City career, given the performance he's had there, what he did at left back last season, you're going to remember him fondly, aren't you? Because he's one that is willing to just do the shift that's asked of him, gives 100%, and to be honest, has performed pretty successfully in two positions that weren't natural to him. So,
but he's so cool, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He just seems
cool, isn't he?
So calm, and there's something really likable about that. I don't know what it is, just being able to rock up out of position and just look as though you've been playing there your whole life. Absolutely love it.
I think it's control. I think everyone wants to see your team looking like they're in control of what they're doing, and the opposition. Yeah. And Jakob, a bit like Matt Jackson, for anyone who remembers him at centre back, Matt Jackson always looked like he knew he was in control of a situation, even if he wasn't. And it's all I'll add, sorry, just before you say it, all I'll add, Zoe, is you've just reminded me that we obviously haven't spoken about whatever handball is now, and basically just watch my video verdicts if you want to know. I can't be bothered to go through all the Newcastle handballs, and then there's too many handballs. Who knows? But anyway, yes, Stu.
So we're doing things we don't want to talk about. Somebody's asked me to ask a question on this pod. So can we flip it? Can we have something that we do talk about that someone's prompting? They want to know, it's my pal Katie Lee, she's saying, I want to know what the players are doing in terms of adapting to the new match day preparation. It's completely different to what Farke did. Did the players prefer it? Like, have you had any reaction or any indication of what the players think about the new sort of pre-match arrangements?
In all honesty, from what I could tell, they were like, all right, new manager's changed it. Yeah, okay. They kind of know that a new manager comes in and then does things differently. I noticed a few different bits and bobs. But I don't think the thing about footballers is they're so blasé. They're just doing their job. And it's like, if you imagine a new boss came in and said, look, we're going to change all the rotors up. Can you photocopy them before we put them on the wall? Oh, yeah. You don't like, well, that's brilliant. I'm so glad they've done that now. I really know where my rotor is. They don't. They just like, oh, great. And we like that with footballers and warm-ups. Yeah, he's changed the warm-ups. Great now. It's not like they suddenly feel really warmed up when they get. Although, what I hadn't realised is Southampton, they only have about a 15-minute warm-up. They come out really late, and Dan Sheldon, who works at Athletic, was obviously with me for the Southampton game. He's like, they always do this. They come out for about 15 minutes and then go in again. They don't really bother warming up. So, it doesn't necessarily, they were very good in the first half, so it didn't necessarily scupper them. But so there we go. I don't know if that's much of an answer, but it's probably the best I've got, Stu.
Are we still training as much? The big thing with Farke, wasn't it, about double training sessions and how much they used to train? Has that changed? I've not read anything or seen anything. Like, is it a completely new regime in terms of training, or are they just carrying on sort of as they were?
Yeah, I think they're doing less, a bit less. I don't think Dean Smith particularly buys into the whole overtraining gets you fitter.
Work smart, not hard.
But I mean, actually benefiting from a fit squad at the moment because of that, and he said it himself. So I guess the thing I always think when you have a head coach take over, it's not entirely about everything that they bring in. It's about how that builds on the foundations of what they had before. So you can almost that it's the chemistry of the combination of that makes a team really good. So I can't remember who it was before Alec Neil. Was it Simon Grayson at Preston? But basically when Alec Neil came on, he was able to really develop them because they'd already done, the bits that they already had. Same at Everton. Was it whoever took over after David Moyes? They had like a real structure, and then Martinez could just come in and just add all this brilliant football because they knew how to defend. And maybe it's a bit like that with Dean Smith. We solidified them, but they do know how to pass the ball around and actually create chances. But there we go. That's just
sometimes the best period for a team can be found, and Norwich City found this when they went from Paul Lambert to Chris Hughton at first, was when you've got that sort of right balance between maybe the instincts of the previous manager being like really either solid or attacking, and then you bring the opposite end of the spectrum. So with Moyes' Everton, that was a really kind of solid, workman-like but really effective Premier League team. And then Martinez came in, and for the first season, he added this zest of attacking football, and you had the solidity and the zest, and it was great. And then it just became all about the zest, and the solidity eroded. And then it was the opposite. With Lambert, he had the zesty attacking football, was really, really good. Chris Hughton came in, brought in the defensive solidity and that kind of thing. The mix of the two was really good. And then eventually it just became 10 men behind the ball all the time.
Zest-free.
Yeah, zest-free.
I love zest and solidity.
One
of my favourite double acts.
Of the 1980s.
Oh, yeah. They had some banging hits.
On that note, I reckon we should move on. I won't do the halftime sting because we're well over halftime. So let's get stuck into a bit of Motti, shall we?
This is almost fantasy football.
Which is just like the good old times in the Championship where we get to paint a picture, look ahead to the next 7 days. And we have a midweek game, which we haven't had many of them, although we have recently, in fairness. Which is, of course, Aston Villa at home on Tuesday. And then we're off to West Ham on a Saturday, which will be interesting in itself. But Villa first, and we don't have to go too in-depth on this, but quite clearly it's Dean Smith in reunion with the club that only sacked him a month and a bit. And, of course, Emiliano Buendia's return to Carrow Road. So, Steve, which of those would you like to talk about?
Well, I don't know how much there is. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to seeing Emmy come back. And part of me hopes he does quite well just because I think he's such a brilliant player to watch. But obviously, I still want Villa to lose. Maybe Emmy to score and us to win 2-1 or something. I'm slightly worried about this.
Magnanimous of you,
I know.
Steve.
I just love the guy. I know he wanted to leave, but yeah. I am a little bit wary because I'm getting flashbacks to 2 years ago when we fielded that basically patched up side against Man City, didn't we? With Amadou at centre back and alongside Godfrey, and kind of thought, wow, this is going to work. We beat Man City. This could be our pairing now. We did have 2 away games between that one, but then we played Villa at home after that, and it patently didn't work because we let in 5. So I'm obviously, different manager, different team, different players on both sides. But I am slightly wondering, as much as I love Sorensen, whether he may be exploited more if he does start, because Villa will be aware that he's going to play. And for all that he was brilliant against United, he does have limitations clearly at centre-half. Otherwise, he would be playing a lot more often. So I'd still hope to see Gibson back. And then on the wider point about the game, it's obviously massively important. It kind of goes without saying, but this is one that we've got to beat. Villa are a good team, new manager, 3 wins out of 5, I think, under Gerrard, and the other 2 are against Man City and Liverpool. So it's not going to be easy. They've got a really good squad as well. But I think we have to be looking for 3 points, and anything less will feel like a disappointment after the game.
Feels like a difficult game to get 3 points from.
It does, but hey, that's where we are right now, isn't it? We can't keep talking about good performances and not getting points if we want to stay up. We've got to beat teams like Villa, otherwise you're looking at beating teams like, away at West Ham.
Was Norwich's worst performance under Dean Smith our victory? Maybe other than Newcastle, I think it was.
Well, maybe the first half. The first half was. I didn't think Spurs was great. I thought it was all right, but think it was
Yeah.
they were in fair control of that. I mean, how magnanimous are you with Emi Buendia, Zoe? I've seen people saying, "Oh, you know, he said he never wanted to play for the club again," which no one will witness to that conversation, but has obviously come out. And I think they, you know, would not applaud him necessarily, but it's got to be somewhere in the middle, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like, be decent people, and you know, we didn't get to say thank you for everything that he did last year, and you know, there's got to be a moment for that. I think it's before the game, if anything, maybe at the end if they've lost. Can be very magnanimous when you've won the game. I was thinking about this earlier actually, and I think we're in a good place to have him back. Not to play for us, but to have him back at Carrow Road now. I think, you know, when things were going badly under Farker, it was sort of, this is a good team and it's minus Emi, and that's why it's no longer good. And I think if he'd have come back then earlier in the season, it would have been very raw. I think it would have been quite a difficult moment for all of us. I think we're in a stage now where, you know, we've got a new manager. It's very much time for new heroes, as somebody once said. I think like we're in a good place in terms of being able to move on. I think we're all understanding what our team is now, and what they're trying to do. It's not necessarily just got this gaping sort of Emi Buendia sized hole in it. Yes, we would probably still benefit from him being there. Of course we would, because he's a magnificent player. But I feel like we can be a little bit more accepting in having him back, applauding him before the game, hoping he gets sent off, everyone moving on. And I think, you know, that's where I am at the moment, I think.
What a brilliant point. I mean, I do visualize, Stu, there being, you know, really make the reception really rousing for him at the start. And then as soon as the whistle blows, just boo every touch, you know, call him anything you want and just go for the extremes. That's what
you could get your phone out and film him. No, I mean, like...
Well, can you make it go boo? You could buzz him. Just buzz him as he goes around the pitch. Buzz.
Do you know what? Right, I love the point about him getting sent off. I would really like, because that's the side of the game I want to see Norwich City have a bit more crazy gang vibe about them. Like, don't mean putting folk 10 feet in the air, but like just a bit more of the winding up the opponents, trying to make sure you get under the skin.
Kenny would do that, wouldn't he? Kenny would give him a good
Kenny will definitely do that, and I think some of the more experienced players maybe have a bit of that, but I want to see a bit more of that for the team generally. And I think Emi, coming back to Carrow Road, is a prime candidate for winding up and forcing him to lose his discipline. And that would be very much like, well, I know the last time the opposition went down to 10 men after 10 minutes, didn't actually end with 3 points, but it would definitely help us if Emi did end up making the long walk down the tunnel.
No one on that pitch will know him better than some of our players, you know, even his current teammates, and they'll know what winds him up, and they'll know how to get under his skin, and they'll know what frustrates him, just in a footballing sense. And if they use a bit of that nous and that knowledge and they work on that before the game, if they can put that into practice, then we know that he doesn't like it when he can't get on the ball. He doesn't like it when, you know, he feels like he's not running things, and he doesn't like it when he feels like he might be about to get substituted. So I think, you know, there's plenty to go at, and if we use some of that knowledge, I think we can definitely exploit it as well.
Even I did ask Dean Smith about that today, actually, and he said he labelled him a fiery character, and that was from only knowing him a little while. So I think he kind of fully appreciated what he was dealing with there. Remarkably, Steve, Mark Lawrenson has predicted a Norwich win. I don't normally get stuck involved, but yeah, this is the first time Mark Lawrenson has predicted a Norwich win all season. Most of them have been defeats, but actually, I looked through all his predictions. Norwich generally did worse in each prediction. So for all the stick Mark Lawrenson he's actually been quite kind so far this season, generally speaking. But
or we've just been awful.
There we go. Or we were, but those days are gone now, Stu. Those days are gone. And that 5-1 win back at Carrow Road 2 seasons ago for Villa. Sorry, 5-1 defeat. We lost. Let me just rephrase that. It's been a long few weeks. That was such a bizarre game of football, because I think Michael McGovern was in goal. I think Ben Godfrey was about to have a hernia operation, but he was the only centre-back, so he had to play.
Basically the beginning of the end for Moritz Leitner as well. That game. In fact, I don't know if he ever played for us again after that. He had a shocker.
He did. And Marco Stiepermann probably should have scored twice in the first 5 minutes. And actually, it was one of Norwich's best attacking displays of the season in terms of the chances they created at Premier League level. And then, of course, Josip Drimic scored from a yard after a dodgy back pass and celebrated, I think. Can't remember now. Good old Josip.
I think he grabbed the ball and ran back to the centre circle.
Yeah.
Game on.
Game on.
Four in 3 minutes.
Yeah, we can still do this. It's 0-0.
Come on, lads.
So I mean, so that was quite. There was a lot going on with that one. I mean, for me, I was one of the lucky ones who got to watch Emiliano Buendia play for Norwich week in, week out last year, and it was an absolute joy in the flesh. So I think the fact that Norwich are even competing at Premier League level and owed a lot to a player who was comfortably above the entire division, to be honest. Absolute standout. I don't think there'll be many seasons we see someone do that sort of thing in a Norwich shirt. So fair play to him. West Ham away on Saturday. Yeah. I bet we've got a great record against them. So there we go. That just makes it more important, I guess, especially if Norwich are going to be a homer team under Dean Smith. We will see. I should also flag up, obviously, January transfer window is rapidly approaching. I'm sure we're all incredibly excited about what Norwich could do in those 4 weeks. We've got a transfer mailbag running on The Athletic. So if you want to get any questions in, I'll be answering the pick of those on The Athletic in a piece over the festive period. So get those in over the coming days before it closes. I think that's it. Unless anyone has anything else they want to bring up. Did anyone else see any comments? Are there any comments we should bring up just before we go?
Well, as you mentioned, transfers, there was just a couple on strikers. Actually, right at the beginning, Beck, 8:10 p.m. Asks, hi to all, do we need a new forward? And Toby Mills at 8:26 says, in the last 3 games, I only think Pukki has missed one big chance against Spurs. He's being asked of a lot, and I still think he's performing well. Maybe Hugo would be good to have as a backup. Maybe.
Sorry, Toby, but Hugo would get driven back with the fans of his current loan club if they could. They are not impressed with what he's doing, and he's not the answer at Premier League level, mate. But yeah, I agree with you totally on Pukki.
Yeah.
Also, just because there were a couple of comments on it, my lights are not blue. They're not Ipswich blue. It's just the way they look on camera. I promise you, they are white. But they just
is that
look,
right?
Yeah, they just look.
They really
funny.
do look blue.
They're really blue.
Really
You need to white balance your camera, mate.
Oh, I do. I'll talk to you about that after the end of the pod. Otherwise, it's going to be a tedious end to this one, isn't it?
Oh wow, yeah, that really that's the most blue white I've ever seen. But there we go. Well, on that startling revelation.
And I was going to say we all know what we do with blue and white, Michael.
Yes, indeed. Right, move on.
I haven't done that.
We do.
On my tree.
In that case, I think I'm safe to say that we will call time on the 90th edition of On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that would never ask for any other business. If you're yet to do so, please make sure you subscribe via your podcast player of choice. The pod is available for everyone on your usual podcast player, and we are now streaming the recording of the podcast live in video form on my social media channels. Just search Michael Bailey, The Athletic, Norwich City, and your preferred social platform, and hopefully it will indeed show up. Ratings and reviews wherever prompted are always appreciated. And if you want to get in touch with any questions or topic proposals, feel free to sling me a direct message on Twitter. At Michael J. Bailey is the handle. A big thank you to our guests this evening. Steve, thank you ever so much. You and your blue lights.
Pleasure as always, Michael, except for the blue lights. Thank you very much.
Stu, thank you so much. I hope you get released soon.
Yeah, me too. They're meant to be knocking on my cell door quite soon. And Steve actually has a blue light badge. There's a true story.
Okay, we'll save that for another week. Zoe, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
A winning jumper as always. We will be back next week for our final podcast of the year ahead of our festive break with loads more Canaries capers in another On the Ball Norwich City podcast. Until then, never mind the danger. And we're clear. There we go. I accidentally put up the banner for Twitter's early. So that was naughty. Never mind.
I didn't
No one
even
noticed.
notice.
No one
I did.
noticed. No.
I did.
Zoe did. Yeah, Zoe did. Steve, Stu, Zoe, all of you Twitterers out there, welcome to Wits End. If any of you have stumbled across this for the first time and are wondering what's going on and why the podcast hasn't actually ended, listen to On the Ball podcast number 42, which went live on September the 8th, 2020. Goodness.
Wow.
It's all explained there. You can email this bonus part of the podcast directly, which some of you may have forgotten. The address is Twitterkers, Twitter, KERS @icloud.com, or use the hashtag Twitterkers on Twitter. Just don't explain what it refers to, because this is the secret club for only those who discover it. Tonight, apology, I suppose, straight up. I haven't caught up on since we did the last one. I haven't caught up on the Zodiac Whitbread or the Bailey's Comets. So there's lots of work to be done there. But I'm going to put them all together. So we could either do it for the last pod, which will be our of the year, which will be our Christmas party next week.
Are you going to prepare something with them? So, like, maybe, like, I don't know, wrap them, or like, as in not as a gift, wrap them as in like freestyling, like kind of.
Mean, there is no way I'm rapping anything.
Write a song.
I could potentially write a
John
song.
could write a song.
Power ballad.
Yeah,
power ballad.
I think you could do that, Michael.
John could write it and you could sing it, Michael.
I bet you've got the voice of an angel.
Well, my 2 albums are on Spotify. If anyone wants to have a listen and find them, they are.
No, that is what
I'm not even lying. They are
What?
on Spotify.
Oh, they are. That's true.
2 albums on Spotify.
What, under the name of Michael Bailey?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
were you
Don't
in
treat
blue?
Yourselves. Huh?
Were you in blue?
No, but thanks for thinking
like...
I could have been. I'll take that.
Again, we don't like blue. I think we've established that much.
That's
Blue
true.
is not welcome.
So yeah,
were you in White? The band White? No, because blue is actually white. No, never mind.
It's been a
Barry
long
White.
day. Barry White. Right. Anyway, let's not do Barry White impressions, please. So yeah, well, we could. Yeah, I mean, I could write them in a song. I reckon John would be awesome for that. He could do the whole green screen with his head just hanging out of something like space, and then just sing it all. So
Bailey's comet flying past you on, like,
with my face, with a comet. Yeah, there's lots of potential there if anyone wants to create that. So we haven't got that. I did just want to flag up. There were 2 things I was going to flag up. Callum, friend of the Twitterkers, honorary Twitterker. He did flag up a tweet that said Rupp was the best number 7 on the pitch on Saturday, which is nice. And also he shared the lovely and talented Ben Stokes, not the cricket player, the designer who lives in Norwich, their tweet labeling Josh Sargent as Joshy Van Sargewinkle, which
is that a space pun or is that just a
that's just a pun. I did actually write here, good pun value, but short of a space or astrology reference.
Surely we've got to open this up to Christmas puns. I feel like space. I know you get nervous when I suggest a new pun to you, Michael.
Another list.
I've said it now, so everyone send us your Christmas puns.
Well, in fairness, I mean, anyone here who listens to the scrimmage, I mean, Chris and Rob are always good for a list of Christmas Norwich City puns.
So
Ian Clark, who I used to work with at Arch, and he nailed them. And all I ever think
Clark
of is
brilliant.
Phil Mulled Wine, because that's and I don't know if there's a better Christmas Norwich City pun than that.
Brilliant. Yeah,
that's he's one of my favourite players, Phil.
We've got a suggestion in the comments for this song that you're going to be writing, and it should be, Josh says it should be in the style of "We Didn't Start the Fire."
We didn't start the fire, which so maybe
well,
me involved.
I don't know if that was a pun as well. Or a title.
Amazing. Well, if this isn't exact, there, there's Josh. Look at that. I mean, if this isn't what Wits End is for, I don't know what is. Has anyone got anything?
Mindless conversation.
Anyone got anything to add? I mean, have you got any Christmas? Well, have you got a Christmas pun then, Steve? You can't just throw out a list and then not have a contributing.
Can I come back to you on that before the end?
Yes, please do. Please do.
About
a minute away.
In the meantime, what? Oh no, maybe this is one to save actually. But I was going to say, what time do we need to get to the game on Boxing Day? Because I feel like Zoe might have to leave at 8 in the morning, just with all the COVID stuff. You know, what time do we have to? What time should I get there?
It's going to be a disaster, right? There's enough queues as it is. I think when they actually start checking your COVID situation, it's going to be interesting at best.
So I think the idea is they're going to make everyone pre-register so they don't have to check it when you arrive. So this is, if anyone's wondering, you will have to have, I don't even know exactly what they're checking. I guess it's either a negative lateral flow result, or that you've been double jabbed, or maybe both. I don't know. Don't hold me to that.
And maybe boosters as well, according to Sajid Javid this evening.
Maybe. Who knows? What times we live in, hey? It was never like this in the 90s. Yes, that's exciting. But I think the idea is they're going to try not to check everyone's when they arrive, because, we'll probably kick off on 2022, I would imagine, and miss 2 games. Anything else, anyone? Anything anyone wants to bring up? We've been going on a fair while tonight, so there's no real pressure.
I mean, this is quite bad, but Christmas Zimmerman.
Christmas Zimmerman.
Okay. And on that note,
I didn't have a lot of time. I'm feeling quite tired. So,
Steve, you were the one who brought it up.
Hang
on, Zoe. Zoe's.
This is very loose. This is very loosely Christmas based. But how about Onel Hernan designated driver?
Wow.
Very sensible behaviour.
Now I'm wishing we finished on Christmas Zimmerman.
I mean, if it hadn't been for Solicistimu Puki, I'd have thought all your puns so far, Zoe, would have been Onel Hernandez.
Yeah.
So,
he's the only person I can ever think about when you ask me any question about anything.
Snowell Hernandez.
Snowell.
Let it Snowell.
Noel Hernandez. Come on, Noel
Swapping
Hernandez.
letters around now.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Okay. I think on that note, unless anyone has Kenny other business, definitely not Emmy other business. Kenny other business. Kenny was good on Saturday, I thought.
Excellent.
Christmas
Best
party.
game of the season.
Yeah, well said. Sorry, Stu.
Nothing. Pookie Christmas party. Like, just flinging it out there. Flinging it like a snowball.
I like that you lost faith in it. What did you say, Stu? It definitely didn't say Pookie Christmas party.
And on that note, and to think we've got one more pod before Christmas where we can get even more of these off our chest.
That's why it's such a great idea.
Clearly. Well, in that case, we've carried off everyone. I was going to mention about Canaries' regrets. If anyone had any, I mean, maybe it's Christmas regrets, but any Norwich City supporter regrets. I always feel I bring up Derby at home when I miss the 3-2 win, which I'm obviously incredibly bitter about because I keep mentioning it. Also, I tell you, one slight small regret. In the 2000-2001 season, Norwich had a really bad start. They were away at Stockport midweek, and I didn't go because there was a fuel crisis. There were queues at the petrol pumps, and we sort of opted it might not be worth it to drive because that would be responsible. Norwich won 2-0 and Tony Cotty scored, and I'm kind of like, you know what, I would have quite liked to have gone and seen that. So that's a minor Norwich City regret. I mean, we may well have been stuck in the middle of the country on the way home on the Wednesday morning without any fuel, but maybe it would have been worth it to have seen Norwich's first win of the season away at Stockport and a Tony Cotty goal for Norwich. All collector's items.
Got a few more in here, by the way, just puns. Tis the season to be Cholis, Stephen Bird. Or Cholis.
There he is.
Would give that a bit of play.
Cholis.
Tis the season to be Cholis. And Josh says Noel Adams.
Oh, there you go.
Just changing someone's name though.
Billy Fillmore Stockings.
Oh, okay.
Is that your biggest?
Is that your one?
It's better than Pookie Christmas Party. So
yes, that's true. And Billy Dalton asks, where are the boys from Talk Norwich City? I don't know. Where are they?
Podcast.
Are they missing?
Jack, Chris, where are they? Are they all right?
I'll have a word with the
search
police that have got me in this cell.
Yeah,
they might be a missing
persons
on Chris and Jack.
Let me know if you find them, Billy. I'll worry about them otherwise. I love Chris and Jack. There we go. Right. I think we really are done now. So if everyone's happy, you're all brilliant. I love the podcast. Thank you so much. Great effort. I forgot. See, this is what you were saying, Steve. 3 weeks. I've completely forgotten how to end this segment. Yeah. So what I'm going to say, on 3, we'll all say goodbye, and then I will say goodbye to you if that's all right. So thanks everyone, and 1, 2, 3.
Bye.
And they're gone. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us for Wits End, just tweet us with the hashtag Twitterkers, or you can email us directly at Twitterkers via twitterkers@icloud.com. Hope you enjoyed the pod. Until next time, that's a rub. And that is actually a wrap. Thank you everyone for watching. That was loads of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. It was lovely to be back. We will be back next Monday night, I'm guessing at 8 p.m. again. We'll do it all again, the last one before Christmas. I'll try and come up with some nice festive themes that we can all contribute to. Maybe we'll take more of your comments next week, make it a bumper party, although we're still going to have 2 games to talk about. In the meantime, have a brilliant week. I will be at Carrow Road tomorrow night, so I will see you then, of course. And in the meantime, look after yourselves and see you very soon. Bye-bye.